What the hell is going on here? I look like a freaking ghost and a half. Not much different from what I normally look like, but that's better. Alright, first and foremost this week, I just have to say, wow. I posted a poll 3 days ago. This thing got 32,000 votes in the first 3 days. That's more than I've ever gotten on any poll in months. I gave you 5 different options this week, just barely edging out Claire's Pocky is Tasty's 3-minute, 30-minute, and 3-hour burgers. I did not expect this one to win. I'm guessing it's just because it's going to take me the longest, because it's 3 different recipes. I will do the Pocky at some point. Either way, I do love a good burger, and we've got 3 of them to make and then eat today. So let's get right into this. Alright, so supposedly we've got 3 burgers that take 3 minutes, 30 minutes, and 3 hours. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the 3-minute will probably take me 20. And the only thing in this video that I don't have access to, ingredients, utensils, or otherwise, is a meat grinder, which we use for the 3-hour burger, but I have a possible alternative. But we're gonna start with the 3-minute burger. I grabbed some potato rolls, salt and pepper, ketchup and mustard, some pickles, some ground beef, and some American cheese. As you can probably imagine, a 3-minute or 180-second burger should not require much effort at all. In fact, you probably are gonna wait for your pan to heat up longer than it's gonna take you to construct this. Literally, all you have to do is toast your burger buns, shape your little meatballs to be smashed down on your screaming hot cast iron skillet, liberally season each side with some salt and some pepper, and once you've got a nice crispy crust on both sides, and that American cheese is looking nice and melty, you can throw it all together. That's pretty much it. 5 minutes into the video, and my entire apartment building probably smells like a Shake Shack. So let's taste it. Alright, so here's version 1. I don't think there's a human being out there, including David Dobrik, who was just on Bon Appetit, showing his lack of culinary skills. There's nobody out there who shouldn't be able to do this. This was way too easy. It also very closely resembles McDonald's. Shake Shack would be a better comparison, hopefully, but we'll see. Okay, this is great. If it had those little chopped up onions, it would be pretty much exactly like McDonald's. Yeah, this is just one of those things where it's perfect in its simplicity. If we're being honest, I'd rather eat a hamburger patty like this over a super thick one any day. I just think this is how a cheeseburger should be. Like a thin, kind of greasy, salty piece of meat. Something huge, like the thickness of a steak, is not my favorite. So the next ones have a lot to live up to. Excellent start. Second on our burger excursion of the day is the 30-minute burger. It's still quite simple. It's got a little bit more involved condiments, and that's actually what we're gonna start with, the Thousand Island dressing. I grabbed some mayonnaise and ketchup, pickles, white vinegar, and some garlic. Now, I don't know if this is popular anywhere outside the US, because I know we are notorious for smothering fats like butter and mayonnaise on our foods, but this is literally just chopped up pickles, sometimes some onion, in this case a little bit of garlic, mixed with ketchup, vinegar, and mayonnaise. It does sound gross. It looks pretty gross too, to be honest, but it tastes really good, especially in small quantities, just as a little extra something on your sandwich or burger. We've also got to make some pickled red onions, which I am ecstatic for. I love these things. So you're just going to chop up your onions. You're going to combine all your ingredients in your pot. I couldn't find the exact recipe they used for this. Actually, I couldn't find any of the recipes because it's not in the video or the description or the comments for that matter. So I am guessing at some of this stuff, looking up some basic recipes for others. But this is as simple as bringing your pickling liquid to a boil, dropping in your onions, and letting them steep for 30 minutes to an hour, even longer if you put it in an airtight container and in the fridge. Now, everything that you're going to need for the burger consists of some potato rolls and our Thousand Island dressing, some leftover ground beef, American cheese, our pickled red onions, lettuce, and salt and pepper. I toasted my buns up in the same old pan like I did with the last ones. And the biggest difference with this burger is how thick it's gonna be. I'd be lying if I said I was excited for this. Strangely, I don't like meatloaf, and huge burgers like this just kind of remind me of that for some reason. Also, unlike the video, I'm gonna season the outside rather than mix it into the ground beef. I just feel like you get a nicer, crispy, salty edge on the outside, and it's less likely to suck out moisture out of your ground beef. I'm shooting for a medium to a medium well. Honestly, as long as it's not completely raw in the middle, I will be happy. So I waited for my cheese to melt. I topped all my ingredients onto one another as closely to the video as I could possibly get. And this is looking great too, so let's give option number 2 a try. You already know your boy did not put the disgusting tomatoes on my hamburger and ruin it. If you didn't already, I just don't like tomatoes very much. I think they're repulsive. Snap reactions is that this will probably be better than the last one. I think the biggest question with this one will be how well cooked the patty is. Because it's very thick, and I usually don't cook hamburgers like this. So I think this would be considered like a medium well to well done almost. You have like the tiniest little tint of pink in there. When I order burgers in restaurants, I usually ask for medium, so this isn't too far off. At least it's not raw. This is just great too. If you add the addition of the Thousand Island and the pickled red onions to really anything, it's instantly gonna be better. Overall though, just because of these condiments, it gets a bump up. So if the last one was like a 6, this will be like a 7.5-ish. And now, last but not least, actually the most in cooking time, the 3-hour burger. This is made up of your own homemade brioche bun, your own hand-grinded meat, homemade garlic aioli, some caramelized onions which take all day. So this is gonna be a process. I started with my brioche. Some flour and warm water, yeast and whole milk, eggs, butter, salt, and sugar is what we're going to need. Now again, I did not have access to the recipe or the measurements of the ingredients that Tasty used. I just looked up a very basic brioche recipe that hopefully is going to result in 4 buns, obviously, because I don't need much more than that. I'm gonna try to do this all by hand rather than a stand mixer, just because it's such a low quantity. And I'm in for a forearm workout anyways. My dough is gonna rise 2 separate times. The first time, its entire mass in a bowl. The second time, once we form them into patties. But first, you gotta knead the heck out of this thing. And to pass some of the time, just knead to some of your favorite songs. Now after both rises, I made sure to generously coat these up in an egg wash. That's gonna get our nice shiny shell around the outside. And some sprinkle of sea salt, or in my case, some pink Himalayan salt. Into a 400-degree oven, these went for about 13 minutes. They're smelling amazing. They look pretty good too. So let's move on to our next condiment. We've got to make some homemade caramelized onions. I am honestly dreading this just because of how long it takes and how I always seem to mess them up. So I just grabbed a whole bunch of onions and some salt. I actually wasn't even planning on using anything else, but I ended up throwing in some butter at the very end just to prevent them from getting charred like they were and to soften them up hopefully. So once I chopped up a ton of my onions and threw them down in a pan, I had to switch between the very lowest setting and completely off because this pan absorbs so much heat and my gas stove is so damn hot it pretty much just burns anything, even on a low heat. And if you thought we were about to start preparing our burgers right now, you'd be wrong. We have to make a garlic aioli with some grapeseed oil, salt and pepper, eggs, a lemon, some mustard, and some garlic. Somebody in the comments, please explain to me where the term aioli came from, because as far as I'm concerned, this is pretty much just glorified mayonnaise with a little bit of garlic in it. That's another reason it cracks me up when some people hate mayo, but then they glob aioli onto french fries or whatever else. I'm like, it's pretty much the same thing. The only key to this is to whisk vigorously and add in your oil drop by drop to emulsify it. If you add too much at once, it'll split and it won't come together and get nice and thick like this. Now the final step before we can start working on our burgers is grinding our own meat. As I said at the beginning, I do not have a meat grinder. I looked for the attachment for the KitchenAid and I could not find it in stores. So an alternative to this is just using a food processor. I have seen this and heard about it multiple times, so hopefully it'll work the same. You do want to cut your meat up, whatever you're going to use, in about 1-inch cubes and freeze them first, as well as the blade in your food processor. This will just help everything chop up nice and finely. It won't bind up your blade. So once everything froze for about a half hour, you want to fill your processor up about half of the way, and then pulse it in like 1-second intervals until you get a nice fine ground beef, kind of like this. And now we seemingly have everything ready to go, so I grabbed that ground beef and Gruyere cheese, salt and pepper, and our brioche buns, our caramelized onions, homemade aioli, and some lettuce. Now what I will say about this ground beef is that it was a pain in the rear end to try to form into a burger patty. Maybe it was still frozen and wasn't binding very well, but I did the best I could, forming that little well in the middle, and then just seasoned it with salt and pepper like the last two and threw it down in my pan. Having to flip this, however, was not kind to me. At each step of the way, I kept pushing it back together and just hoping it would miraculously stick. So I threw down some of my cheese and then eventually removed it. I'm hoping that melted cheese will act as a little bit of a glue. So down with my toasted brioche, some of my chopped up lettuce and the burger, as well as my caramelized onions, my aioli on both sides. This ended up taking me closer to 5 hours, if we're being honest, mainly because I had to film it all as well. Regardless though, it looks great, so let's give it a shot. I gotta admit, I'm kind of surprised I was even able to get this burger patty on here in one piece. It's really like 3 pieces, but it's on there. I think it's cooked. Even though I'm not as excited for this one, because like I said, I like my burger patties thinner normally, my mouth is just absolutely drooling right now. So before my spit flies everywhere, let's see. Oh my god. What? I was not expecting this. This is by far the best one, because it's not even like a burger anymore. I want to compare it to like a super tender steak sandwich, but the meat is so soft and like falling apart. Oh my gosh. I feel like I gotta do a lap or something. Oh man. The caramelized onions are better than the pickled onions. Just that bread and the aioli alone, I could just eat that. I could eat an aioli sandwich. This thing's just an absolute flavor bomb. Every bite you get something different. I just got the lemon and garlic from the aioli. Absolutely no complaints. They killed it with this, wow. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave me a big thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you don't already. Let me know what you want to see next week down in the comments, not the Pocky, because obviously that'll get done at some point. So leave me something else, or just DM me on Twitter or Instagram. Other than that, have a fantastic weekend. I will see you right back here next time. Peace.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.